Welcome to the Death to the Org Chart podcast with Jeffrey DeMure, your guide to entrepreneurial freedom. On today's episode, we'll be exploring how to leverage connections and superpowers. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the conversation.
You know, one of the things that I like to talk about is when we make a decision, there's always somebody out there that is willing to tell you that you did it wrong, or you did the wrong thing, or you should do it like this or like that. And as I'm fond of saying, it's a lot easier to criticize than it is to create something new, right? And I think we're in a time in our culture where people are a lot less inclined to criticize you for what you're going to do, what you need to do in order to keep your business alive, right? So there's this grace, and it falls into two categories. One is the panic period of the pandemic, which is, for the most part, let's call it the first 6 months, right? We're all trying to figure it out. And then there's the post-pandemic part, which is, okay, we can't just duct tape things together anymore. We have to accept the fact that things are going to be different. So we need to try some different things. And so you're not going to be criticized for trying something different. You will be criticized for trying to do what you did before, only harder. People have lost their patience for not accepting the fact that we're in a different period in our culture and in our businesses, right? So that is the mindset that I would encourage you to bring to this solution phase, this evolutionary phase of what has to happen next in your business. So one of the things that I've learned the hard way is that I'm an introverted people person. I'm an introvert, but I love people. I don't love them all the time, and I don't love big crowds of them, but I connect with people. And when I do, I'm more than willing to share with them what I know. I'm more than willing to find out where they are in life and to be able to, I like to be helpful. I like to be useful. I like to be able to connect people to things that will be useful and helpful to them. And I do it because I can't help it. I do it because I love it. One of the things that I've learned is that there's some bad actors out there. There's people in your life that will take advantage of you, unfortunately. And to use that sense that you have in your heart, you've been doing what you've been doing for a while, and even if what you've been doing is just surviving, right, then you've got a history. If you're still breathing, you have a history. You have experiences that you've had with people, and evaluating how those people play into this next chapter in your life, I think is really important, because you don't have time for everybody. One of the best things that you can do is to, when this is a very scientific approach that I have to figuring out my relationship and the value of that relationship with people. When I see their name come up on my caller ID, do I get excited? Am I just neutral? Like, yeah, this is pretty good. Or am I like, oh my God, I cannot believe they're calling me again. This is not going to go well. Whatever it is not going to go well. And you know from history that it usually doesn't go well. Not that you're being negative, but those are the people that you need to not be mean, but just sort of gently, kind of get out of your life. Because I can tell you right now that if you decide that you're going to continue to interact with people that don't bring value to your life because you think you need to, that will take away from other things. When you say yes to that person that is not benefiting you, your business, your life, right, your heart, then when you say yes to them, you're saying no to something else. And that something else is what you should be working on, what you need to be working on at this stage, kind of in the development of where we are in our businesses. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. That and I'm not a mean person. I'm kind to a fault sometimes, and I've let people take way more than I probably should have of my time, my talent, my treasures, in order to kind of help them out. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that they're just battery drainers, right? That's kind of who they are. I mean, I used to work with somebody like that. It was like, Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Oh, yeah, it's another terrible day. It's blue sky, sunshine. That's probably the beginning of a drought. They could always, not only was the glass half empty, but it left a ring on the table that is now going to cost thousands of dollars to get out. There was always, they were very creative, but they were creative in a negative way. You know people like that? Get them out of your life. You have my permission, my encouragement. It's not easy, but it's really important. And you don't have time to deal with that anymore. Neither do you, neither do you, neither do you. So now you've gotten some people that shouldn't be in your life. You've gotten them out of your life. Good for you. That's what we should do. We should prune the things that aren't working in our life and be aware of the things that aren't working in our life. That's part of self-awareness. It's part of emotional intelligence. And it's the right thing to do. So how in this post-pandemic period that we will be in very shortly, how do you attract the right people into your life? So I can speak from some experience with this. And hopefully you've been in business for a while, right? More than a couple of years. You've survived. Good for you. You've made some connections along the way. You've connected with people that you feel are like-minded. They have values that are supportive to you. They don't just care about themselves. They want you to do well. And they will bring you things and ideas. They might be a client. They might be a vendor. They might be a supplier. They might be a sub-consultant. But these are people that are in your life, right? And these organizations are led by people. I've got one of them here today, Wes and his team. And Wes is someone that I can rely on he's out there doing and seeing things that I don't see, that I don't do. And I know that he is favorably disposed towards me and my organization and the leaders in my organization. And he gives to us without expecting any compensation. That's part of being in a relationship with people, right? That there's parity, that there's the willingness on both sides to embrace and to even say things that are maybe a little bit uncomfortable. Jeff, I probably wouldn't go down this road. You know, I would say that the things that you're putting out there, you want to continue to go deeper with content because that's what people are drawn to. They're drawn to content. And I think as we move past this, through this post-pandemic period, that having solutions and awarenesses for the people that you do business with is going to be part of it. And how do you do that? You do it by connecting with people that are, they're the eyes and ears, they're the legs that are out there doing things that you don't do. So connecting with those people, that's the first thing, is making the connection with people that you have favor with. These are people that are favorably disposed towards you, towards your organization, towards the things that you do and the way that you do them. That is a great place to start. That's a rich place to mine information that will allow you to see what you should be working on next. I would put that in the category of the best opportunities that are out there you will find by the people that are closest to you. I read an article the other day about, is it EQ or IQ that propels people and propels businesses to their next level? The IQ is really off the charts IQ. We all know them. They've been part of our organizations. You might even be one. You are a genius. You're a brainiac. You have a very, very high IQ. That is not me. I have a very high emotional quotient. My emotional quotient is such that, because I used to say before, my spiritual and business consultant from Australia used to tell me to, when I said this, he told me that I needed to stop it, but I would say that I'm not very smart and I'm kind of lazy. What that really means is that I have a high emotional quotient, and I like to bring people that I care about into my life to try and make a difference in the things that I do for myself, for my organization, and for the people that I do business with. So IQ or EQ, which is more important? Well, people with EQ will do this. They will bring people into their world, right? And they will allow them to speak into their world. The brainiacs, those of you out there that are brainiacs, you will continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And this is the worst time to be doing that for people that are of high intelligence, that haven't learned effectively and efficiently how to interact and develop their emotional quotient. So being sensitive to this thing called emotional quotient is tremendously important at this time, because we need to be out there soliciting information as we go through the last phases of what I think the pandemic is. And even if the pandemic is still around, we're going to have a post-pandemic phase. We're going to have a post-pandemic period that people are going to expect us to do things differently. So people are going to make all the difference to this. You've gotten the wrong people out of your life, and now it's the time. And because you've done that, you've made time for, you've allowed yourself room for more people that are the right people into your life, right? So that is what I would suggest you do. What we've done in our business, we have a marketing manager, and he has become an expert on LinkedIn. And what I want to do is I want our organization to connect with the right people as we look for who we will be doing business with as we come through this. We want to be aligned based on the values that organizations and people have. And it's really funny. Our marketing manager, I don't even think he's 30 years old yet. It's not polite to ask those questions. In fact, our HR director tells me that I can't do it anymore, is to ask how old people are when we interview them. But I know that when he graduated from college because it's on his yearbook. So I know that he didn't go to college when he was 28. Anyway, so he's under 30. He's done a remarkable job of using technology, LinkedIn, identifying some businesses that we think we want to do business with. What's the most important part of the initial phase of figuring out if you should do business with people? If they've got a future. That's the biggest part of it. Are they committed to still being in business? Are they committed to growing? Are they committed to being creative? Those are the kinds of things that Eric does for us, and he figures it out through news releases that I will send or that Chelsea will send, and then he'll try and find some information about them on LinkedIn, and then he'll do the one thing that is really tough, and when you do it, it makes you stand out. That's actually connect with people. He'll call them, he'll email them, he'll try and make a connection with them. And by the time he does that, he will have had some information about them, and he's able to ask them this question: what's frustrating you right now, right? If an organization, if a person can answer that, then Dan Sullivan says that other people's bad news is my good news, because we're in the problem-solving business. That's what we do. And I would suggest that you've got a significant component of your business that's the same way. If you can figure out what is frustrating and what is making those other CEOs, keeping them up at night, if they get to a place where they can talk to you about that, then you have the basis for a relationship. And then to find out if you have a future or not is just to say to them, if this is what Dan Sullivan calls the R factor question, if we were having this conversation 3 years from now, what would have to happen in that time for you to feel great about your results, about your life? People that are willing to do that for you, that is a good start for a relationship, because it means that they trust you. If they don't answer that question, there's only two reasons why they won't answer that question. One is they don't know. And I don't really want to do business with people that don't know what the next 3 years, what they're looking for in the next 3 years. It means they don't have vision, they don't have goals, they don't have much of a future, at least that they can articulate. And if they know and they won't tell you, that means they don't trust you. And I don't really want to do business with somebody that doesn't trust me. So very early on, you can determine what it is that will allow you to go to the next level with that connection that you've just made. Okay? So those are a couple of filters that we use in order to try and discover if we should be working with people. When people get excited about the things that we talk about, what's next in the home building industry, what buyers are looking for, we have two groups of clients. We have some clients that go, you know what, I'm just going to put it out there. I don't really care. We're going to use the same stuff that we did 5 years ago. If it doesn't sell, we'll lower the price, right? And we'll just get more of it out there. There's the other groups that are like, let me see what the consumers are doing. What are the mainstream builders doing? And what can I creatively and cost effectively incorporate into my solutions to have people realize that I'm sensitive to this new post-pandemic period that we're in, this phase that we're in after the pandemic, right? Because clearly what the pandemic has done, it's taken 10 years of organic progress that we would see, and it's completely compressed it down to about 6 months. And I would say we've got another 6 months or 8 months in order to develop some scenarios, because this isn't just a fad. This is a trend. these things that are happening in America right now, this is the new reality of how, we will be living. We're going to be hypersensitive to keeping things clean, right? We're going to be hypersensitive to indoor air quality. We're going to be hypersensitive to who we kind of let into our physical bubble and into our homes and into our businesses or our business lunches and those kinds of things. We're going to be very, very sensitive to those kinds of things. We're going to be sensitive to what's organic, what's clean. I look at the 1920s when the architects of that period faced a pandemic, and the pandemic that they faced was worldwide, just like this one is. And the way that the architects solved it was this notion of clean. It's a term that we use in design, and clean doesn't mean although that's part of it now. It just means that the surfaces don't have a lot of ornament. They are fresh, and that they're smooth, and that they use materials that are consistent with this idea of what light and air can bring into a building. Most notably right now, because we're all focused on it, is residential. So light and air, gardens, organic, it's called, what's the plantophilia thing? What's it called? Biophilia. This notion of biophilia is that bringing new kinds of plants and plant materials into our home, having these indoor-outdoor relationships is really important, because fresh air and light are sanitary kinds of things. Not in Northern California right now, where the air quality is about 300 and you can't really go outside, but typically it's not like that. So those are the opportunities that exist in what people are most sensitive to right now. There's technological components that I would suggest we can overlay. We can do Zoom much better than we do right now. The interruptions, the way that they're managed, the way that we interact on video calls, they're not going to go away, right? But there needs to be new programs that emerge that allow us to interact more effectively, more organically, to the way that we are comfortable doing. So the thing that I would also encourage you to mine is that you have a superpower, right? There's something that is distinctive about you and about your organization that is just your DNA. You're wired that way. It's not something that you're trying to kind of duct tape or plaster on, right? It's not a facade, but it's a depth. It's a principle. It's a value system that you have, right? It's a belief about how you treat people. We take that for granted way too often. Superpowers are generally brushed aside by most leaders. There's something that they are tremendously good at. If you're a dentist, you would say, you're a dentist, you do dentistry well. Not really. There's certain things that certain dentists do that make them really distinctive, right? There's certain things that certain medical professionals do, and when they do them, they're very distinctive and they stand out for doing that, right? My dentist is a great listener. He's a great communicator, and he's a very positive person. And this is one of the reasons that I love him. And the culture that he has, even during this pandemic period, they're keeping it unweird, right? And they're accepting the fact, I know things are a little bit different, but we're still going to try and love you just the same as we did before, Jeff. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear fear. I don't want to hear, oh my gosh, I don't know what we're going to do. There's germs everywhere. I think we're going to die. I don't want to hear that, right? We all know what we're dealing with here. We all know how to deal with it, right? So let's be big men and women and just accept the things that we got going on, and we're going to be moving on from that. But your superpower, my superpower, is asking good questions and listening. My ability to kind of have a connection with people, sort of understand where they're coming from. I have others in my organization, and their superpowers are articulating vision, right? That they have the ability to take what they've heard from a client or from a portion of the market and then turn that into something tangible, right? The thing I want to talk about with superpowers is that don't feel badly if you don't know what yours is. Let me tell you why. we take them for granted. The things that we do really well, we just kind of go, that's nothing. I have a friend that is a singer, and he sings at church, and he is like amazing. He could be a professional opera singer, and he completely takes it for granted. And when he does it, he completely blows the doors off of the environment that he's in. And yet he doesn't think that it's that big of a deal. And sometimes our value as leaders is to help point out other people's superpower, right? So you've created more margin in your life by eliminating some things that don't work, some relationships that don't work. The thing that I would encourage you to do is to, hey, Chelsea, let me tell you, this thing that you do, when you do that, it has a tremendous value. It is tremendously beneficial to the people that are around you. When you do this thing, not so much, but this thing, focus more on this thing. And when you do that thing, then we're going to be more successful. You're going to be more successful, and I want to see you be more successful. So taking people aside, helping them understand what their superpower is. And then a few years ago, when I first started Strategic Coach 20 years ago, one of the exercises that they give you is to write a letter to 5 people that you respect and admire and that you know you have a good relationship with. Send them an email and say, I'm in the process of trying to determine the things that I do really, really well. What is it that you rely on me for, and what is it that you think is distinctive and is an unusual gift that's a benefit to people? What is that? So putting that together, sending it out to a few people, and then either having a call with them or having them just send me 3 bullets, or send me 1 bullet, or send me, a paragraph. When we do, first of all, people they'll be flattered that you think that much of them to solicit them for input relative to what they think that your essence is. And I think it strengthens the relationship, and it helps make things just a little bit better.
Thank you for joining us for the Death to the Org Chart podcast with Jeffrey DeMure. Be sure to subscribe on Facebook, iTunes, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. To get more information about Jeff, or to order your copy of the book, Death to the Org Chart, go to dttoc.com. Go create the freedom you were meant for.